This is an important question I hope we can ask ourselves moving on into the future. I'm not gonna hype it up or just try to surprise anyone. In the next couple of weeks, we'll be reviewing the Microsoft Surface Go tablet and the Pixel Book, because after that commercial, I had to get my hands on one. But I've been watching a lot of videos regarding the Surface Go, and before we get into the actual review and our first impressions of the product, I hope we're able to take a step back and ask ourselves what makes a tablet, and is it really a laptop replacement if all it does is everything your laptop ever did? Many of you are likely confused by this, so might as well get started. What I mean by this question is that a lot of people may look at something like the Surface Pro and say, aha, see, yes, a tablet that can replace my laptop. But then what stops me in my tracks, when I at least was reviewing the Surface Pro, was that, okay, I mean, it doesn't ship with a keyboard and mouse, but I tried my very, very best to not use a keyboard and mouse as soon as I got the Surface Pro and quickly found out the tablet interface doesn't really work. The tablet interface is not that desirable. Most of the apps that are designed to work on Windows 10 kinda need a keyboard and mouse to be properly utilized. Using the stylus was kind of weird. Using the pop-up keyboard on a desktop experience was kind of bizarre. The tablet version of everything just felt unintuitive, and it felt like it was not meant to be used in that way. And of course, whether you buy a third-party Bluetooth keyboard and mouse or you get that Microsoft type cover and you're able to dock it, like basically anyone who's ever bought a Surface Pro I've ever seen have. In other words, they want a tablet that can replace their laptop, so they get a keyboard and trackpad or a keyboard and mouse and connect it to the tablet and then keep using it as if it was basically just still a laptop. Price-wise, it's still in the range of a lot of Windows 10 laptops. And it's funny, I was in an airport recently and a lot of people there I noticed had Surface Pros. Clearly a very popular product, so I started looking at them and I wanted to count how many times the people I was seeing interact with their Surface Pro actually touched the display. Was it often? Was it not so much? Was it never? And I'm shocked to tell you that when someone bought this tablet and decided that, hey, this tablet can replace my laptop, in at least the 30 minutes this guy was sitting next to me, he never touched his Surface Pro display a single time. Typing, yes. Using the trackpad, yes. Managing different apps by using the keyboard and trackpad, yes. So that's when I start begging the question, how is this not a laptop with just a broken hinge? What do we got in the differences between an ordinary laptop and a Surface Pro 4? Of course, with the 99% guaranteed purchase, anyone who buys a Surface Pro is most likely going to pair it with a keyboard and mouse. What are now the differences? It's running a desktop class operating system. You're interacting with it with a keyboard and mouse. And now I'm starting to understand what Steve Jobs meant when he said that they were very proud of their multi-touch technology, but as soon as they tried to adopt it onto the MacBook or iMac displays, very quickly discovered that it makes for great demo. So when you're showing it off to someone, it's a really good sale, but in prolonged use, you're going to forget about it and never use that feature again. Anytime I see someone with a Surface device or perhaps something like a Pixel Book, I completely understand where this is coming from. It makes for great demo. It always does. These things sell really, really well at Best Buy because when they're showing off how the Surface Pro does its thing or how the Surface Book works, they always want to show off that, look, you can dock it and you can use it in tablet mode. And then they hand it to them and they're like, wow, it has a display and I'm holding it without a keyboard. So by all definitions, this must now be a tablet because it's a touchscreen and there's no attached keyboard and mouse. But the software and the apps that run on this particular operating system, very, very not thought out when it comes to a tablet interface. And in pretty much every marketing picture, every marketing ad with the Surface Pro, they're advertising that you get the type cover. The type cover is not even an optional thing. It's like expected that of course you will get that with the product because why wouldn't you? That's what makes it a laptop replacement. In my mind, if it works like a laptop, as in you interact with it in the same ways you would interact with a laptop, and it runs the same operating system of a laptop, how exactly is this not a laptop? Is it just the fact that they don't include the keyboard and trackpad with the purchase? Is that the only reason it's a tablet? It's like IKEA. You gotta buy the individual pieces to get this laptop together. That's why a lot of the time people like to say that just Apple's not innovating anymore, or Apple's given up, or they don't do anything special anymore. I still think not enough credit is given to the iPad lineup because while they do sell a very expensive smart keyboard with the iPad Pro, and I personally don't recommend that you buy it, I think that's way too much, I can tell that this user interface of touching the display, multi-touch technologies, with without a mouse or without booting a desktop or laptop style operating system onto it has been the real challenge for Apple. Making an app market in a community of developers that optimize their apps for an interface that requires you to touch the display. Technically, if you get a Surface Pro, you'd almost never have to touch the screen. Similar to a laptop. MacBooks don't have touchscreens, and there's obviously no need for it. But even laptops out there with touchscreens, stats will tell you how often people actually interact with it. They kind of have to remind themselves when they're typing or when they're doing something, oh yeah, hold on, I can actually tap that. There we go. Or even the devices that flip around entirely and have the keyboard on the back. Now you have a very clunky tablet, but I guess that's because it's primarily supposed to be a laptop. But now the hinges are kind of weird, and at the end of the day, I feel like it's a classic scenario of jack of all trades, master of none. The iPad is not good at pretending to be a MacBook, but it's not trying to be. The iPad is trying to be its own independent line. And again, if you like the Surface Pro, if you're happy with your Microsoft Surface device, that's good for you. I'm not trying to say you're stupid or anything. All I'm saying is, to me, what makes a tablet is the fact that it is not just a duplicate of your laptop. It is not just a laptop that doesn't have a hinge to support the display. So now the keyboard is just made of fabric and you have a kickstand on the back. An iPad is a standalone device. It's not something you pair a mouse to, because if you could, then it wouldn't really be an iPad anymore. Then it's just a MacBook running iOS. Obviously, these lines are very, very thin between what is a tablet, what is a laptop. I mean, we're in the realm of what can really replace your laptop. I mean, for many people out there, a smartphone can. A lot of people can write emails, browse social media, watch videos, and do what they need to on a smartphone. But I don't think a smartphone is really the same type of product as a laptop, because we found a different way to interact with the device. It's completely multi-touch. It's much smaller. It can fit in our pockets. Yes, you can connect a keyboard to a phone, but most people don't do that. Definitely not a mouse with iPhones, at least. With Android, you do whatever you want, I guess. But that is a different product. And if we're looking at a market that can replace a previous existing product, I don't think it should just do the exact same thing in the exact same way. People who are able to have their smartphones replace their laptops found a faster or more convenient way to write emails or watch videos and have that more personal experience with the touchscreen. And I feel like the iPad is meant to elaborate on that. It's meant to expand on that. A multi-touch personal experience that is not trying to duplicate what the laptop has already done. Control interface here, visuals up here. When you try to start mixing that and have both, we really only have two hands. We can't use all three at once. Trackpad, keyboard, touchscreen. It's because we don't need to. And that's why I think it's so common that people get excited when they see the new Surface Go or Surface Pro or a regular old laptop that just now has a touchscreen because Windows 10 supports it now. People go, oh cool, it has a touchscreen, this is great. And then they go exactly back to what they knew before. If you're going to be replacing your laptop, don't just get a crappier laptop that runs the same operating system and now it's a touchscreen that can help you do something, I guess. Artists, good for artists, I suppose, but I mean, an iPad with that 120 hertz display thing and the Apple Pencil, I mean, that's pretty good for artists too, right? But I think that's what Steve Jobs and Apple meant when they said a more personal product, because it is merging the UI and the display into a one single sheet of glass, and there's not something else you interact with. That's why I'm kind of annoyed with the whole external keyboard thing, is because for one, it's just super expensive. Two, it's like an origami lesson, learning how to close it, even in the commercial when the girl like smacks it on the ground and it flops into each other. I don't know, I just don't like that part of it. I like the simplicity of just a single sheet. It doesn't open, it's not a notebook or anything like that. Not that there's anything wrong with MacBooks or laptops in general, it's just that it wouldn't make sense for the iPad to also have a trackpad or also have mouse support and also have the option to run macOS, because once you start adding all those things, then it's just a MacBook, except with a broken hinge. We haven't really designed a laptop replacement, you've just designed a laptop with a more flimsy keyboard. So that's why, in my personal case, I don't consider most Surface devices actual tablets, because pretty much to do any kind of work on them, you need to find some kind of type cover, and most people are going to be booting it into its desktop version anyway, because they're used to using a laptop, so they're just going to continue using a laptop just with a broken hinge now. If you want another laptop, just get another laptop. You don't have to try to say, oh, I want a tablet interface, and then use it the exact same way you'd use your computer anyway, because that's not really changing anything. That's just creating weird annoyances. devices, whereas an iPad, I think, is in its own field. It's a different type of product, and I really think it's hard to compare Surface devices to iPads, but most people online are still going to act like they're the same type of product. They're in the same genre, whereas, like I said, I think the Surface is way more of a laptop and the iPad is way more of a tablet. Some people may look at it and say it has an advantage over the iPad because it can imitate what a laptop can, but if it can imitate what a laptop can, then just start comparing it to other laptops. Don't compare it to something that's not trying to be one. I don't know if this made any sort of sense. I hope that was interesting to you. But in your eyes, what makes a tablet a tablet? What is the definition, and where do you draw the line between a laptop and a tablet? Microsoft clearly just doesn't know. They're just merging these all day, or the Pixelbook. But at no surprise, the Apple sheep actually thinks Apple gets it a little more right, making them separate and different in their own regards. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. This is your Apple sheep here, and I will see you in the next one.